Some of America's most famous cities feel like completely different places right now. Not different like a new coat of paint. Different like, who lives here now? Different like, where did everyone go? Different like, wait, when did this become normal? The U.S. Census Bureau's 2025 data confirm what millions of Americans are already feeling in their bones. 8 of the top 20 largest cities in this country lost population for the third year in a row. 3 years in a row. But here's what the headlines aren't telling you. Some cities are changing in ways that don't show up in population charts at all. The culture is shifting. The economics are inverting. And in some places, something genuinely unexpected is beginning. We're counting down 5 U.S. cities that feel completely different in 2026. We go from surprising to almost unbelievable. And the city at number 1? Nobody predicted this version of it. If you ever thought about moving, if you're already questioning your city, or if you just want to understand what's actually happening to America right now, stay with me. This is going to matter to you. But before we dive in, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. I subscribe. And I'll personally welcome you into the family. With that said, let's get started. City number 5, San Francisco. Let's start in San Francisco, a city that, not long ago, felt like it was running the future. Marcus was 29 when he moved there in 2019. Fresh engineering degree, a job offer from a mid-sized tech company in Soma, and that specific kind of optimism that only exists before rent hits your bank account for first time. His studio was $3,800 a month. He made it work because San Francisco felt alive in a way that justified it. Then the pandemic hit, then hybrid work. Then his company started quietly bleeding engineers to cheaper cities. Then his office, the actual physical building, went dark. By early 2025, Marcus was paying the same $3,800 for an apartment in a neighborhood that felt hollowed out. The coffee shop downstairs closed. The gym across the street became a pop-up storage facility. His building had 4 vacant units. He's not alone. According to the Brookings Institution's 2025 urban analysis, downtown San Francisco's foot traffic is still 38% below pre-pandemic levels. Think about that. 6 years later. The city's office vacancy rate hit 37.3%, the highest of any major American city. Nearly 4 in 10 office spaces sitting empty. And the visual reality of that is jarring. Nordstrom closed its San Francisco flagship. So did Whole Foods. So did Saks Fifth Avenue. Entire blocks of what used to be premium retail are now dark windows and handwritten for lease signs. But here's the part that doesn't make the news enough. What's moving into those empty spaces is telling. Nonprofits, artist studios, subsidized housing conversions, life sciences labs. San Francisco isn't disappearing. It's negotiating a new identity in real time, loudly and painfully in public. Marcus, by the way, moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. He found a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,600. Within 11 months, he doubled his savings rate. He still misses the fog rolling in over the bay at 6 p.m. But there's something happening in San Francisco's empty towers that most people haven't noticed yet. And it might determine whether the city bounces back or becomes a cautionary tale for every tech hub in the world. We'll come back to that. For now, city number 4. City number 4, Chicago. Chicago is a city with 2 entirely different stories happening simultaneously. And depending on which zip code you're in, you would swear they're describing different places. Denise has taught 4th grade on the South Side for 22 years. She's the kind of teacher kids still message a decade later. She knows the names of her students' parents. She knows which kids haven't eaten since yesterday. Between 2022 and 2025, she watched 5 schools in her district close. Not underperform. Close. Her students got redistributed across the city. Her commute stretched from 20 minutes to over an hour. Her classroom, once full of kids from the surrounding blocks, became a patchwork of children busing from 3 different neighborhoods, each one grieving their own school, their own normal. The University of Chicago Crime Lab's 2025 report shows a complicated picture. Violent crime in Chicago's Loop dropped 19%, a genuine win. But certain corridors on the south and west sides experience the opposite, and population loss in those specific zip codes is accelerating. People are leaving not because they want to, but because the infrastructure around staying has collapsed. Meanwhile, and this is the part that makes Chicago hard to write off, the North Side Tech and Healthcare Corridor added over 14,000 jobs between 2024 and 2025. New apartment buildings are going up, restaurants are opening. Median income in some North Side neighborhoods grew faster than the national average. Two realities. One city. Literally the same city. Denise was offered a transfer. North Side School. More resources. A principal who answered emails. A functioning copy machine, which sounds like a joke, but isn't. If you've ever taught in an underfunded school, she sat in her car in the school parking lot for 20 minutes before accepting. It felt like leaving, she told a colleague, even though I was still in Chicago, even though I'd still drive past on weekends. It felt like I was one more person choosing to go. She took the job. She's still conflicted about it. Chicago in 2026 isn't dying, but it isn't thriving equally. And that uneven reality, that's not unique to Chicago. It's coming for almost every major American city. Speaking of which, city number 3 is one that millions of people moved to specifically to escape what Chicago and San Francisco were becoming. But there's a hidden danger inside the dream that almost nobody warned them about. City number 3, Austin. Austin was supposed to be the answer. Sunday space. No state income tax. A booming tech scene. Affordable, relatively, compared to where people were coming from. Between 2020 and 2023, Austin and its suburbs absorbed one of the largest domestic migration waves of any metro in American history. The Garza family was part of that wave. They left the Bay Area in 2022, bought a home in Round Rock, a suburb about 20 miles north of Austin, and felt genuinely like they had won. More space, better schools, lower cost of living. Their neighbors were friendly. Their commute was manageable. Maria Garza told her sister back in California, "I don't know why we waited so long." Then the property tax bill arrived. Here's what the Texas A&M Real Estate Center's 2025 data shows, and it matters. Austin's median home price did fall by 18% from its 2022 peak. That sounds like relief. But over that same period, property taxes in the Austin metro increased by an average of 34%. When you run the actual monthly numbers, mortgage, insurance, taxes, the net cost of homeownership in Austin in 2026 is nearly identical to what it was at the 2022 bubble peak. The price fell. The cost didn't. The Garza's property tax bill hit $14,200 for the year. That's $1,183 a month, just in taxes, on a house they already bought. And that's before you talk about infrastructure. Austin Water issued 3 separate boil water notices in 2024. The city's public transit system, Cap Metro, is consistently ranked among the lowest performing in any comparable American metro. The roads, I-35, the highway that cuts through the heart of the city, has been under construction in various sections for so long that locals joke it's a permanent geological feature. The Urban Land Institute's 2025 report coined a term for what Austin is experiencing: hypergrowth lag. The research found that cities absorbing rapid population surges face a 7 to 12-year gap before infrastructure catches up to demand. Austin is 3 years into that window. There are 9 more years of growing pains, minimum. This isn't a reason to avoid Austin. It's a reason to go in with clear eyes. The smartest movers right now aren't just comparing rent prices. They're calculating total cost of living. They're asking about water infrastructure. They're reading the city's capital improvement budget. They're asking locals, not transplants, what the city has failed to fix. Because Austin is still growing. It's still drawing investment. The music scene is real. The food scene is real. The job market is real. But the version of Austin that existed in people's imaginations in 2021, that's not what you'll find in 2026. What you'll find is messier, more expensive in hidden ways, and more complicated, and honestly, maybe more interesting than the fantasy. City number 2 was written off entirely 5 years ago. What's happening there right now is genuinely, statistically hard to believe, and it's one of the most quietly exciting urban stories in America. City number 2, Detroit. Detroit. When Amara was 22, she left. She grew up in Detroit, loved Detroit, and left Detroit because the opportunities weren't there for a graphic designer trying to build something real. She moved to New York, spent 5 years building her career, her portfolio, her life. In 2024, she moved back, not because she couldn't make it in New York. She was making it. She moved back because, in her words, I looked up one day and realized Detroit would become a place I could actually build something that was mine. She bought a 3-bedroom Victorian in Midtown Detroit. The purchase price, $112,000. She spent $40,000 renovating it over 18 months. Her monthly mortgage payment is $680. That is not a typo. And Amara is an anomaly. Detroit Future Cities 2025 report, one of the most closely watched urban development documents in the country, shows the city issued 4,200 new residential building permits in 2024. That's the highest number since 1998. The median home price rose 22% year over year, and it's still under $200,000. Young professionals, artists, remote workers, and entrepreneurs, particularly Black entrepreneurs, are choosing Detroit not as a compromise, but as a strategy. The cultural momentum is real. Midtown and the New Center District now have a density of galleries, restaurants, and small businesses that would genuinely surprise anyone whose mental image of Detroit is 10 years out of date. Ford's autonomous vehicle division invested heavily in the Corktown neighborhood. Google has a presence. A wave of African-American-owned businesses is reshaping the commercial landscape in ways that feel, to the people living it, like something historic. But here's where this story has to be honest. Detroit's school system remains one of the lowest ranked in the nation by multiple metrics. Certain neighborhoods outside the revival zones still face profound blight and public safety challenges. The renaissance is real, and it is uneven. The people most likely to benefit from Detroit's resurgence are, so far, disproportionately people who already had capital to invest. The longtime residents who endured the decades of decline don't automatically get to enjoy the upswing. That tension is live. It's real. And anyone serious about Detroit has to hold both things at once. But the trajectory is genuinely remarkable. Amara is now mentoring 3 other young Detroit natives who moved back in the last year. We're building something here, she says. You can feel it. It's not finished, but it's real. Which brings us to city number 1. This one is going to make you argue. I almost guarantee it. Because what's happening here in 2026 challenges almost every dominant narrative about American cities, the pessimistic ones and the optimistic ones. City number 1, New York City. New York City has been declared dead more times in the last 5 years than any city in modern history. Dead after COVID, dead after the crime surge, dead after remote work, dead after the retail collapse, dead after the migration to Florida and Texas, dead. And yet, Elena came to New York from Medellin, Colombia in 2018. She spoke functional English, had $8,000 in savings, and a plan to open a restaurant. Her family told her she was insane. Her first location on Queens Boulevard barely survived 2019. COVID in 2020 brought in zero revenue, for 4 months. She took on debt. She did takeout from a dining room that seated no one. By 2026, Elena owns 3 locations. She employs 47 people. Her second restaurant has a 6-week wait for a Saturday reservation. The NYC Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunities 2025 report found that international migration added a net 83,000 residents to New York City in 2024 alone. Immigrant-owned businesses grew 31% since 2020, one of the fastest growth rates for that demographic in the city's recorded history. And here's the contradiction that defines New York in 2026. Midtown office vacancies are at near record highs, and Times Square foot traffic is at near record highs. Both at the same time, in the same square mile. Columbia University's Urban Planning Department released a 2025 analysis describing New York as undergo what they called a dual-speed transformation, simultaneously contracting in legacy sectors like commercial real estate and corporate headquarters, while exploding in food, nightlife, international tourism, immigration-driven entrepreneurship, and creative industries. New York in 2026 is not the New York of 2015, that version, the one with WeWork on every corner, with tech money flooding into Manhattan apartments, with a certain kind of frictionless coastal optimism. That version is gone. It's also not the New York of 2020, that ghost city version that felt like a warning about the future of urban life everywhere. What it is right now is layered, loud, contradictory, expensive in ways that exclude people who deserve to be there, while simultaneously generating the kind of street-level energy and cultural density that you cannot manufacture, cannot export, and cannot replicate in a suburb regardless of how good the tax incentives are. Elena put this way, New York doesn't care if you're scared. It just keeps going. That used to intimidate me. Now I think it's the whole point. New York in 2026 doesn't feel like one city. It feels like 5 cities layered on top of each other, and somehow, improbably, still moving. Here's what every single city on this list has in common. They are all changing faster than the systems built to manage that change. Faster than the housing policy. Faster than the transit infrastructure. Faster than the political conversations happening about them. And somewhere in this video, you probably recognize something. Maybe it was your city. Maybe it was a city you've been dreaming about moving to. Maybe it was a city you already left. And you're still not sure if you made the right call. The old framework for thinking about American cities. Is this city good or bad? Is it growing or dying? That framework is broken. Every city on this list is simultaneously both, growing and shrinking, thriving and struggling, changing for better and for worse at the same time, depending on which neighborhood you're standing in. The more useful question isn't which city is winning. The more useful question is, which city's version of the future matches mine? So here's what I want to know from you, and I genuinely mean this, because the comments on videos like this end up being more honest than most news coverage. If you had to bet the next 10 years of your life on one of these 5 cities, San Francisco, Chicago, Austin, Detroit, or New York, which one would you choose? And what do you know that the headlines aren't telling us? Drop it in the comments. The most interesting, most honest answer gets pinned. And if you want the next video, we're looking at 5 cities that almost nobody is talking about yet, that our data suggests are about to go through exactly this kind of transformation starting in late 2026. That list is going to surprise you. See you there.